Okay.
I'm not going to get into a lot of specifics, but we've got our environmental materials report, and what we've got to do, we will not have to hire an abatement contractor.
Great.
Everything will be under the general contractor.
Very good.
So hopefully we'll have that within the next few weeks. We'll bring something down to you guys.
Great.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
So,
And after this report to y'all, we will meet with the sheriff, the judges, and all the user groups, but we want to show it to you first.
Okay, good. You want to check some of them lights? Let's turn some of them lights off where we can see.
Ready for me? Yeah.
Okay.
this is Mike Roland,
Good evening, everyone.
Hey, Mike.
Yes. Glad to be here.
Welcome back to Pike County. We're glad to have you.
Making a lot of progress. With me tonight is Mr. Tim Holmes, who is the one of the vice presidents and the senior principals of our company, and he's the quality control principal of this job. And then Jeff Cahill, who you've seen quite often, is the project architect. We've been very busy. What we want to do is show you what we've been doing, but first of all, we want to thank McKinsey and everybody in the county that came together and helped us program the information that we're going to present for you today. On December the 18th, we spent the day together, and it was quite a lengthy overview of everyone's needs and everyone's, I wouldn't call them wants even. I mean, everybody was basic with respect to what they presented to us, and what you'll see is the result of that. So we just want to thank everybody, and Tommy and Larry have been instrumental in helping us get this programming solidified. We are going to, once you approve our schematic design, I think as Ken mentioned, we are going to get with the users and sit down and review the details of these pieces and parts. And then there'll be some detailed estimating so we can pull together that ultimate package for that number for you. So we'll go ahead and jump into it. This is, of course, the site, and this is the topo of the site, and we are working that right now with civil engineers and developing. I spent a good bit of time there today. As you know, this is the upper portion of the site, which will be important to us in a moment. That is the Boys and Girls Club that we intend to demolish under this contract so that we can keep it as long as we possibly can. Then down here on this lower level, if you recall, there is a fairly significant bank between the higher level here and the lower level. We're trying to use that as an elevation change between the jail and the courts facility to tunnel underneath that courts facility piece to bring the inmates up in a totally secure environment.
Cool.
You don't see them until they walk into the litigation well in the courtroom. Okay?
Like it.
So it's a great concept that we're working with, putting that piece together. The main jail structure is in this zone right here. As you go back on the site, we sort of oriented some areas for E911 and EMA future, if that becomes reality. We don't know what that relationship is right now, and we don't care. If y'all come to the terms and you make an arrangement, you make an agreement, then we'll help you develop that concept, help them develop that concept.
Okay.
On the back portion of this property is where we're leaving some of these buildings for training piece, and also that's where the impound lot for the sheriff's department goes. So to show you some of those details, here's the site development, okay? And this zone right through here is that elevation change that we talked about. This is the 44,000 square foot courts facility.
Okay.
And our courts, sheriff, circuit clerk, DA, juvenile probation, and all the support functions and the circulation and structure of the facility is in that 44. That's gross square foot.
Like to interrupt one minute.
drawings that we showed you early on, the separate buildings for the sheriff and the jail and the court system, it is the inmate population decision group in an effort to manage budget needs. It made a lot more sense to consolidate everything into one building. And so that's why you're seeing one building for different occupancies up on front, but then you got the physical land separation from the jail still that we have.
Okay.
And when we programmed with your users, they all know that. They all love that idea. They wanted to be in a consolidated facility, and so I think you'll find them saying, yay. Okay. The jail piece, that course piece developed up here. It's about 173 parking spaces for that piece of the facility. The jail piece is 46,000 and 822 square feet. 46,511 square feet. And there's something interesting there, because our day design occupancy is 169 beds. Okay? And I'll show you some magic about that in a little while. It's 169 beds, and that's an increase of 40 beds, with which is a 30% increase over the 129, and we did that in a 12.8% increase in square footage. So we got a very efficient plan. Okay. With the jail, this is visitation parking. There's only about 24 or 25 spots there. With video visitation, they don't need any more. And then this is staff parking. And this may look familiar to you. We're trying to use every roadbed and every piece of, why go in there and rebuild that? So we're creating staff parking out of that existing roadbed here, and we're creating some here now. The visitors, we're going to have to create new, because it's sitting essentially where the old community center is.
Okay.
Okay? So now we'll show you some details. That's a blow-up of the master plan. This is that zone where we're making the change between the elevation of this building and this building. And the other thing you'll see here is what we call the logistics building. In our programming, we had file and storage requirements for the sheriff, some file and storage requirements for the commission, some equipment storage for the sheriff, and then some general storage for the other users. And so that is a very economical, what we call a logistics building.
Okay.
It's a metal building, okay? We don't think that space belongs in here, and there's even some of this space that we may talk ourselves into moving to that space also, like physical training rooms and things of that nature. So we're working on those as we move from schematics. So you got the logistics building here, the jail. This is the primary administrative wing here. This is the female housing unit, and this is the primary male housing unit, housing pod. You'll also notice that right here, there is the opportunity to increase this jail facility by that pod in future construction to take you down the road, okay? So that's all being planned. This is that area that we talked about. This is the training zone where we're maintaining some houses, and then this is the impound lot. That's the EMA and the 911.
Okay.
Okay, let's talk about the jail first. Jail, essentially, public comes in here, inmates traffic from here to the courts in that pattern that we talked about. There are this male pod, female pod, kitchen facility, loading dock here, some of our maintenance and support, and this is our multi-purpose training room, etc. That facility, as I said, is about 46,511 square feet. Any questions so far? We've got these, so you've got all the details right there in front of you, and we'll leave those with you if you've got any questions or comments later. Okay, once again, the administrative wing. This is the vehicular goes Sally Port, inmate traffic comes here, and female traffic goes there after they're booked, male traffic goes back into, and that traffic is separated to the highest level we can. The other thing is the inmates' beds and cells, bed space is out of sight and sound with respect to the male population. Important for us. And for the sheriff. And there's your back pod. That's one 24-hour staff station around a whole bunch of beds. So that makes our efficiency, the building is very, very efficient with respect to staffing. And as we move forward, we'll talk to you a little bit about staffing in those stations and how it impacts your staffing level, if you want us to. Okay, all of the housing units in this facility, both male and female, are a multi-level housing unit so that that control room observes all of those inmates stacked double high on that day space piece. Now, bed count summary. We have in this bed count summary, if you're on that sheet, we have in the bed count summary a design occupancy which takes you through the 15th year, so to speak. All right? And that design occupancy is 169 total beds in the categories of beds that you see up here, all broken out very clearly for the sheriff so he can understand it. At this point down here, at the design occupants, we have a total of 43 female beds. Okay? Now, the other thing we have is we have a single cell population at 51 single cells. What that is 33% of the population of your jail, which if you go and read the American Correctional Standards and things of that nature, and you really care that much, but you don't. But if you read all of that, you would see that that's their recommendation for a facility. Here's the magic. There's a bed count summary out past the 15th year. That bed count summary is 205 beds. Okay? We hadn't put another brick in the building. We hadn't added any staff. We double bunked this facility primarily in compliance with all of our standards. 205 total beds, 55 female beds, so that's growing, okay? And then we still have 31 single cells, which is 21% of our total occupancy. That's still good in anybody's standards. Then, at the 25th year and beyond, we're saying, without adding a brick, without adding a staff, just because over the years things change in operational concepts and aspects. So out at that point in time, what we've done is we've double bumped this facility at the maximum safe level, if you will. And we've got 239 beds, 63 female beds. Our single cells are still got 21 locked down single cells. You don't have a one, I don't think, in the existing facility. Maybe one. So you've got 9% of your population. We presented this way. You wanted to try and get to a greater population of beds. We gave it to you somewhere between 169 and 205 beds. In the best case scenario, and we only increased the square footage by 12.8% over the original program square footage. So we were successful there. Okay. Now we're going to spend a lot of time with courts, circuit clerk, DA, etc. This is that connectivity that I talked to you about, where we come under the first floor and we connect the inmate secure corridor up through and to the court's holding cells that are on the upper floors that you'll see. as I said before, it has 44,822 gross square feet in it. That includes the support square footage in terms of mechanical space, etc. Here's the way that building breaks down. Secure corridor and a secure screening right here. The only other way you get in this building is right there through that door, which is the sheriff's department, and that's where all pistol permitting and things of that nature will come into that very safe and dark environment. That's the only other way you get into this building. You'll be screened with the sheriff, but this is primarily your screening for the entire population of this building. One point in, one point out. We'd like to point out, the building does have a loading dock, so you can get furniture in and out of it. It's very accessible. This is the DA's footprint, and the DA's footprint includes all of the program spaces asked for. This is the circuit clerk's footprint. As you can see, all of this has great public access, okay? And circuit clerk, even we're talking about if she wanted it, we could have a relationship between her and the court floor on that elevator right there, okay? So then, believe it or not, DA could have that same, but that's another stop in the elevator, which we want to be careful about how we present that, because it'll be a budget factor later on. Then this is all support space, mechanical, electrical, etc., data, and then outside here is your equipment yard. So this building sits in a very uncomplicated footprint directly underneath the courts. When you get to the courts floor, we asked about jury assembly rooms and lounges and stuff like that, and they said, we don't operate that like that. We're going to strike juries and all from this major courtroom. That courtroom is the larger courtroom. As you can see, it is set up for either a district or a circuit court opportunity. So you got a lot of flexibility. This is a small courtroom. These two are this is like a gallery of like 66 seats. This is somewhere around 68 to 70, and then where we will strike the juries is about 134 seats. Okay? Each one of these courts is supported by witness rooms on this secure, semi-secure corridor, and this elevator and an inmate holding cell, so you don't ever see an inmate until they walk into litigation. All of the judges' traffic, there is a set of parking spaces right across the back of this building for judges, sheriff, and those that you want to protect as much as you can, and their staff, but not all of their staff. And so judges' entrance is below, back through the secure corridor, up that judge's secure elevator, and every bit of this zone back here is secure. It's secure for judges, it's secure for staff, it's secure for juries and jury operations. It is it's very, very, very effective in its separation of the traffic between the public, the courts, judges, and inmates. So each one of these courtrooms has judges' chambers. All of those judges' chambers mount the bench from out of the chamber, very safe for the judges. They're not walking up and down corridors with public and inmate, etc. And so that is the court's facility in a nutshell. Any questions about anything so far? I'll continue. We got kind of pen happy, and we're so pleased with this setup. This is a concept for the courts building. The jail building will have a much simpler approach to it in terms of its exterior skin. But this building is, we're pleased, and that's what you will see from 3 Notch. And this is the size of the facility. Very attractive, but it is a no-nonsense facility also. The remainder of the information in the document that you have is all programming support information. The details that we require for staff and users, all of that information is in there for you to review. The only other aspect that's in there is a schedule aspect, and we have not fully flushed this out with TCU, our partners, but it looks like we're probably going to be ready to advertise in late September if everything goes well. We can get these approvals running. We would bid in October, and then we would occupy in somewhere in June of 22. This project we've got showing, and TCU will have to help us get to that final number with our final scheduling, but we've got about 19 months for this entire project, which is very aggressive. Okay? Do I have any questions? Subject to yours, my presentation's over.
Probably got 100, but
So let me give you the next steps, Chad, before you,
Yeah.
I'm just going to ask the question. All right, so contractually, with us and with Mike, you have to approve in writing or a motion, or however you do it, the move from schematic to design development, and again from design development to construction and into bid. What we'd like to do, this is the schematic presentation. We're giving it to you, want you to look at it. We're going to meet with user groups. And without a lot of questions at the same time, we're going to be doing a cost estimate. Mike's required to do a cost estimate. We do one, we reconcile the two. You know, one of the things that he keeps talking about is only that 12% growth for 40 more inmates or something like that. We got to deal with that. But I think his design, by consolidating stuff into one building, being very advantageous in the use of the existing site infrastructure and those sort of things, is going to be very helpful to us budget-wise. But in about 2 weeks, after we've met with the user groups, we will be back with a letter of recommendation from TCU to the commission on the schematic design with the cost information, the schedule information, and what you've got there tonight. That may change slightly after we meet with the user groups. At that point, he'll move on. Knowing Mike, he's already moving on. But that's the next steps. So what we'd like y'all to do is look through it, listen to any comments that come your way after the user groups. They've been very forthright with us, and we expect it to continue. Mackenzie does a great job of listening to the right questions out of. But if you hear something, then let us know, because we'd like to react to it. Now, it's much easier and less expensive to change it now on paper than it ever will be over the next few steps. So that's sort of the next steps and the way forward. Chad, you're welcome to ask any questions tonight, but if you want to think about them and sort through it, that's fine. We'll be around and be able to help you with those.
yeah, I need to digest before I start asking questions.
I would like to say that Mackenzie was in those all-day meetings, and she may not have a lot of knowledge about every detail, but I think what we've done, I think she would have knowledge about how we had reflected what they really asked us for.
But we need to go back to them. It's only fair that we go back to them. We don't ram something through them, particularly the sheriff, because it's and Kelly, because it's their babies. But we also realize that y'all got one bite of this apple, and we want to get you as much as we can get you out of this one bite as humanly possible. I have talked with the mayor about the Girls Club component. We're working on that. He's got a pretty good plan of how to do that. Mike's got a good plan of how to wait till the last minute to displace them, so that ought to work fine.
Good. Thank you, Keith. Keith, that. This is
We got a
Thank y'all for being here, we really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Once again, all your people have been great.
We all have the same goal.
Yes,
We do. So it's a good thing. Thank y'all.
Thank y'all. Appreciate it.
Y'all be
You need
careful.
this for the regular meeting?
No. Y'all be careful going on.
Thank y'all.
Go right ahead. We're gonna move on. With our hands here.
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
We don't have any new business tonight, but under current business, we do have a couple of things. Following the numbering on your agenda, under number one, current business, industrial access project. We do finally we've been anxiously awaiting this agreement form, and we just received it in the mail today. This is the agreement that we have to enter into with AlDOT in order to get our $400,000 in FAEF. And the reason we've been so anxiously awaiting this is we need this money now to pay our contractor on the 7707 project, the IA project. If you remember, half of that project was funded with FAEF funds. So if you will approve this for us tonight, we'll get it sent back up there tomorrow. And I spoke to an AlDOT official today, and he promises me that he'll get the ball rolling on getting our money deposited into our account.
That's 7707.
Well, this agreement is just for the general, so that we can get our money deposited into our FAEF fund.
Okay.
But at the moment, we need that money for the 7707 project.
Correct. What we're
Yeah.
needing the motion to be is for the general agreement.
Right, the memorandum of agreement for the Federal Aid Exchange Fund
Gotcha.
is what this is. Yes, sir. That's right.
Okay.
And it does, one thing I'll point out, we do have some old federal aid projects outstanding that, it takes years sometimes to close those out.
Yes.
And there were some overruns and some underruns, they never come out right on budget. So the part of what's included in this agreement is how to handle those. In the past, we would always have a federal aid balance, and any overruns from an old project, they would take it out of our balance. Any underruns, they would put the money back into our account. They're sort of going to do the same thing with this. It's just that if there's an underrun and they owe us money back on a project, they're going to give it back to us at 75 cents on the dollar. That's the exchange rate that they're using. If anybody has money left over in their federal aid and they want to exchange it for these funds, which we don't. We're zeroed out. We spent all of ours. But so that's all covered in here. It's on that front page if you want to have trouble sleeping tonight and want to read it. But the second thing that we have, which would be number 6 on your front page there, is the flood damage prevention ordinance. We sent it up we got our final draft sent up to ADECA, Office of Water Resources. They reviewed it, just made a couple of comments, and we incorporated those. And so what you have in front of you is our final proposal for you to approve tonight.
Ready to go?
It's ready to go, yes, sir.
Okay.
And I do need, if y'all approve it, we need all of you to sign that document.
Okay.
So those are really the only two things that we had requiring action tonight. We are advertising for bids on the County Road 4417 resurfacing project.
All right. Any news on the 2020 resurfacing projects? Anything different?
We're right on schedule. We're going to start advertising the day after tomorrow
Okay.
on the ACCA schedule that's been set for letting schedule. So we'll be advertising for the first round, which is will be the surface treatment project, the one that we're doing the 10-year. We'll ultimately do the 10-year financing for.
Okay.
And then a month later, we're going to let the other project for the other resurfacing, we're going to let the other contract for the other resurfacing projects. and try to stagger those two contracts, or three there's actually two contracts we're gonna do right now, but, we're gonna stagger those two types of work a month apart, so we can manage them better. But
What else?
that's all we had.
Questions? Comments? Thank
Thank you.
you. EMA?
Cold day. All I have is, I think you have in your packet, it's a resolution that I would like to ask that we approve at the next meeting. It's with it's time for us to update our pre-disaster mitigation plan. And previously, we had worked with the Southeast Alabama Regional Planning and Development Commission on this plan. And what this resolution is for commitment for part of the matching funds. The matching funds portion of this is $25,000, and the South Central is committed to matching 10,000 of that, which would leave 15,000. And what they're requesting is that the 10 counties in Division B split the remaining $15,000, so we'd have a cost of $1,500 for them to help us with the development of this plan, and they would develop a division-wide hazard mitigation plan versus an individual county plan. And so I would just, ask, it doesn't have to be voted on tonight. I need to actually get one where we've got signature lines on there, but would ask that you consider that, and I think we've got money in the EMA budget to cover that without asking for any additional funds.
All right.
That's the only thing I have.
Questions? Comments?
Question, I know I forgot to ask you last meeting, you were going to a meeting to find out if there's a pot of EMA funds we were
Right.
looking for.
March the 1st is when is the deadline for people to claim this mitigation money that's out there. And I don't know if you just recently read, there was an article in, I think it was on AL.com, but some other places where the shelters, the individual shelters that, they have allocated a lot of this money for Lee County. Well, people can't afford the money up front to get reimbursed, so they feel like that a lot of that money is going to be turned back in, as well as there's money that people have requested for generators. But March the 1st, we should be able to lay claim to trying to get some of that money. But in this mitigation plan, this hazard mitigation plan, we are planning to include the development of new shelters in there. So hopefully we can get some additional shelters across the county.
So March the 1st is when we'll get the answer we were looking for.
We'll get the answer for this year's money, but then this, if that fails, then we've got this as a potential backup. I talked with the lady. We're actually working with the South Central Alabama Development Commission because of where we're located. Pike County's in that, is working directly with them. And in meeting with her, we will include some additional shelters in this plan, coming up.
Yeah, I got one thing, Herb. Is there any way we apply for money for help the volunteer fire departments on the radios, so they can talk to one another on the new type radios?
I think we can. Of course,
I didn't know if anything was available.
there's
out
not,
there.
I just have to do some
I've
research.
had
and look.
some to ask me about it, and I told them I would talk with you
But
about
I'll
it.
look and see what we can come up with.
Because I knew a broadband they got now is different. You gotta
Right.
have
Of course,
certain type
there's
radio.
the whole thing about, there's several things going on right now,
Yes.
with communication with this P25 system, and there's also this, statewide alert system they're looking to fund. So let me do some work on it. I should have something to you by the next
Mr.
meeting.
Copeland, you're probably aware of some of the
Yeah,
broadband work.
well, I think there was a grant that you got a couple radios for them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got it, and that'll come back around, it comes up annually, and that's through Homeland Security. And we got, those radios we didn't get, we gave them to the Sheriff's Department, they have them. They're the P25 compliant radios.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks.
Okay.
Now come on in. We welcome Dana and some of the junior chamber members to our meeting this evening. Thank you for being here. Does any commissioner have anything to report at this time?
Just to follow up from what I was talking about last week, the bill for the statewide rave system
Yes.
has passed the House. So it's in the Senate, or said it that way. And then there's been a push, recently from some of the, some different government agencies to change the distribution in the SSUT funds, which McKinsey's given us a breakdown. This actually was in our box today of how those funds have grown. So it might be something I've got a little information I'll share with y'all. I'll email it to you guys about what's going on and how they're trying to change that. But that may be something we want to pay a lot of attention to. I've talked with Wes about it, and he knows our concerns, and Senator Holly, I haven't talked to yet, but that's about the major things that I've heard of from the session this time.
I will go on and make y'all aware. We will not know to a certainty until probably later this week. But the engineer and I did talk today. We actually talked last week briefly. He mentioned that he's about to finish up the preventative maintenance part of this year's road project, which was it was two-part. It was preventive maintenance and full depth resurfacing. It appears there's some roads that we had on the preventative maintenance schedule that are too far gone to do some preventative maintenance to. But it is not as simple as rolling them into the resurface, but the surfacing that we front loaded the project with next year, because there was a list and it's been advertised, and it is what it is, and we can't spend any more on what the law's written than we're going to next year. I spent about an hour with McKinsey this afternoon, and once we get a better idea of what roads are actually, in some places it's not an entire road. There may be half of a road that can have some preventative maintenance done, but the other half of it is it would be a waste of money. And we're going to work between now and our next meeting to get a very detailed description of what we see the problem is, and some ways to try to amend some different funds that we had put some money back in to try to continue to achieve what we promised everybody we're going to get done this year. And I will have that ready before this next meeting, okay?
Thank you. Okay. Next will be our administrative report.
I don't actually have anything on the agenda. I had a couple of things come up since the agenda went out to everyone. The first item is just going to be a surplus list that I will get to you in your next agenda. The Sheriff's Department is wanting to sell some of their vehicles at the auction that's usually held at the Cattleman's Building. It'll be in April, I believe, this year, and so they just want permission to declare their surplus that they can sell them at the auction, and I'll just have that in your next package. The next item, we have a request from the Sheriff's Department for a request for a general leave of absence for an employee in his office. She's had to go on leave at this time, and so we do want to go ahead and get that request, suspend the rules, and vote on it tonight. And I believe you have a copy of his letter in front of you.
Okay.
That's all in the administrator's report. I do have down up under current business, I do need action on the county levies for alcohol licenses, and that is in your package. It will stay the same. We're at the maximum amount that we can charge at this time for those levies. And that's going to be all I have.
Questions, comments? Okay, thank you. And now our work session comes to a close.